Hey, Danielle, thank you so much for sitting down with me today. I wanted to know, what is your role at Portable and how do you work at Portable with our amazing client Headspace?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Sarah. I'm a senior producer at Portable, and I work across a number of clients within our digital product team. But one of my main clients is Headspace. They are the National Youth Mental Health Program. So it's really great to work with them, as one of our impact areas is mental health.
So I know that Portable and Headspace have been working together over a long period now, over many years. And I think it's really rare to see partnerships that aren't just, transactional, but they can really
Mhm.
grow over time. I was going to ask, if you could talk about the partnership evolving, and what do you think has contributed to this sense of longevity and the strength of collaboration between our two organizations?
We've been working with Headspace, I believe, since 2018, which is before my time at Portable, but it's great to see such a long-term client and be able to work with them myself. I think in terms of what's contributed to the longevity, I think trust builds over time, and I think that is super important in digital products specifically. You kind of get into this nice process of iteration and flow and having a better understanding of user needs as well as business needs for Headspace, because that's a really important contributing factor into the type of projects that we work together with Headspace. So, yeah, I think that the longevity has really given us a depth of knowledge that sits within our team that we can really leverage to build on, I suppose, the foundation that was there when we started working with Headspace. But I think they trust us implicitly from a technical perspective and have been able to really leverage some of that user knowledge that we have to make recommendations about how we approach projects. Today, for example, I had a great meeting where Bruce, who's our technical lead across Headspace, put forward a different way of approaching a problem that the client hadn't thought about before and potentially is a great cost savings to them. I think we could only do that having worked with them for such a long time, and to have that trust there is super important.
So much trust really does indeed build over time. And like a little bit of history is that I was the first producer to work with Headspace when we
Oh,
first
wow.
did together. And like, it's so nice to be able to see this partnership just
Mm,
still being so strong, like even stronger. One of the things that stands out to me is that the partnership involves a shared commitment to really improving the mental health well-being and the lives of young people. I was going to say,
yeah.
do you see that like common shared sense of purpose, and how do you think that influences the way we work together?
Yeah, I think that is a super important part of our relationship. Portables made a commitment to delve into that impact area of mental health. And I think working with an organization that has that shared goal and a shared objective is super critical and just makes the projects that we work on more meaningful. So I think perhaps working with a different agency who isn't necessarily impact driven would be a very different experience for Headspace. I am like bring my own experiences with mental health issues to the account, as well as I think the whole team sort of has varying experiences of their own lived experience, their family's lived experience. And I think that is brings a great deal of empathy to the users that we're ultimately building things for.
Yeah, it talks to me, around the thing of trust. It isn't just trust in each other to do the right thing or to know
Hmm.
technically what we're doing, but it's actually trust in the team to be able to share like where we may have been vulnerable, where we may have had lived experience of mental health, and be able to kind of channel that in. And I like deeply admire that.
Yeah.
I wondered if you had a couple of projects that you thought were really exciting that you might want to chat us through so we get a bit more, like of a look or a feel for what these projects are that we do together.
Yeah, cool. I can give a little bit of an overview of a couple that we've done recently. We last year we had a huge program of work delivered, so a few different things. We did some big technical upgrades, which were sort of background things that I can't get into too much detail on, but ultimately help business process on Headspace's side and also improve the overall performance of the site. So, really critical improvements. We've also done website search optimization, which was an interesting project because we kind of took that in a phased approach where we did some really quick wins adjustments to the way the existing search was working. But then we took a step back and were able to sort of design an overall better experience for website search so that young people can easily find the resources that they need to help themselves and their family and friends can do the same. So we launched that, I think, in November last year. It's been a great one to sort of be able to do those little quick wins and then do a bigger uplift of the whole experience. I think was a good improvement. We've also been doing some work across work and study. So, work and study is a program that Headspace offers to help young people with career mentoring and study opportunities where they can speak to an expert in those areas. And the work that we did sort of is in relation to booking appointments for those services. So, you can go on the website and now quickly and easily book in with either a work or a study expert and get career mentoring, that sort of thing. And I think for young people who are like figuring out where they sit in the world and where they want to go, that is a super important service and definitely contributes to the overall well being of young people. So, yeah, a great one to have done in the last 12 months. And I think potentially some more improvements on the way for that one.
I love that. I also love this kind of continual improvements, like mindset that we have together.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the other interesting things is I think we've tried lots of different ways of working together, right?
Mm,
Sometimes they've been working really well. Sometimes we've learned together and had to adapt some of the working practices. Do you want to talk me
absolutely.
through, I guess, like what we've learned along the way? What kind of approaches have proven over time to be really beneficial? And especially as a producer, I think you hold so many of the keys to the insights and the nuances on the working relationships on both sides of the team.
Yeah, I think I spoke a little bit about the trust that we've built over time. And I think that trust has really enabled us to take a quite a flexible approach in our ways of working together. There's a number of different things that we've tried over the years in terms of how we work together, how we resource projects, all the sort of nitty gritty stuff that kind of sits behind the scenes of what we deliver.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that trust that has enabled those more flexible ways of working together?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it just means that we've got a bit of freedom to push the boundaries of our process. We've got this lovely process that is sort of the backbone of the way that we work together. And then we've got, I suppose, some levers that we can push and pull in there to work slightly differently on different projects. Of our projects with Headspace have multiple different stakeholders with different priorities, and we have to factor that into the way that we work together. Other projects we need to deliver really efficiently because of timeline constraints. So there's levers that we can pull there as well. And I think sort of knowing that we've got that safety net and the ability to have an honest communication because of that trust that we've got there is critical to be able to make those decisions together. Those decisions are never sort of made in isolation. By Portable, we're using the trust that we've built together to make those decisions in collaboration.
So good to hear. When I hear you talk about this, I also wonder if you wanted to talk a little bit about the loves, the technical expertise, the domain expertise, the user research that you see our team bringing, and
Mm.
also how you see the client's team and their experience also feeding in. I'd love to know more about kinds of the things that we're passionate about and that each person and discipline brings into the work.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this earlier, but Ruth did a beautiful showcase of her sort of knowledge of Headspace and I think from a technical perspective, what she sort of brings to the project in terms of being able to look at a list of requirements that we need to deliver on and think about different ways of approaching those requirements that might simplify the user experience. And I think she's got that because she's worked on Silver Stripe for such a long time. and has been also working on Headspace since she started at Portable. So she's worked on it so much that I think it's kind of like the back of her hand now, which is really great. And I think her depth of knowledge about Silver Stripe has really helped the account overall and sort of helped with some of the more technical upgrades that we've done over the last 12 months. She has a really balanced understanding of technical side of things, but also of the design side of things. So that's amazing. And I think is true for a lot of our team. Like Cristiano also has such a great working knowledge of the Headspace design system. And that means that we can deliver work really efficiently, but also just expand on the work that we've done in the past really easily. I think equally like our clients, we work with a bunch of different people and different business units within Headspace, but they all bring their own passions to the table about improving mental health for young people. And I think that shows in the briefs that we get and in the way that we work together throughout a project.
I just have like two more questions for you. The first one is, I guess you've walked us through a couple of the types of projects that we do together. But I know that a lot of the role that we do is providing assurance around the ongoing stability,
Yeah.
consistency of that experience through our support level agreement. We've introduced after hours support to this, for example. I was wondering if you wanted to touch on any of the aspects of that as how it's distinct to project work and how it kind of embeds that foundation that we have to work on.
Yeah, I think the service level agreement that we have with Headspace is a super important part of what we do. So obviously we're deploying all of these projects to production, but then we have to be able to support them and make sure that the site is maintained and functional and performing the way that we would expect. So there's sort of a maintenance side to that where we grab tickets together and plan out sprints to make sure that that work is getting done. And then there's the support element. So, like, what happens if something goes wrong and young people can no longer access services? There's obviously clinical risks involved in that as well. We have a tiered system, so a response system where any issues that come to us through support are prioritized from P1 to P4, and then we sort of address them in that way. A P1 issue would be like the site's down and we need to make sure that it gets back up as quickly as possible. So we have response times that we work to for those. And yeah, it is a really important part, especially when you're offering services that are critical to people's health and well being. We definitely want to make sure that those services are accessible.
Yeah, 100%. And so, what I love about this kind of ongoing support level agreement with our, priorities 1 to 4, what I
Mhm.
love about it especially is because we're being, I feel, realistic and prepared for when things don't always go right.
Yeah.
We're not saying things are always going to be perfect, but we're going to say we're going to be as resilient as possible in the face of the things that we don't expect. And we're going to be your partner through that too.
Yeah, exactly right. We do have a prioritized backlog of things that we can sort of enhance that aren't like immediate support issues or small enhancements to existing work that we've already done. So it's again a nice way of sort of iteratively improving the product over time.
Love that. And so I really wanted to finish with some space to look forward into the future. I know that we're working on some really big things together with Headspace around the digital mental health program. Without giving too much away, can you share where things are headed?
Yeah, so I think we're really aiming to work towards a more connected experience for young people and their families. There's a number of projects that are currently under wraps, but hoping to connect the dots for young people from a user experience perspective. I suppose enable young people to more easily access the services that they need. It's quite easy for them now, but there's always ways that we can improve things and help with the decision making that goes into deciding what service you need at a certain point in time.
Absolutely, because I guess where everyone is on a certain day, a certain time of day, time of
Yeah,
night,
exactly.
you're really different. One of the things that I am personally and professionally really interested in is how AI is going to be changing and influencing and hopefully improving the impact areas that we work on. So, mental health, access to justice. aging, I think there's just such a huge scope of opportunity there, as well as real concerns, right? I was wondering, like, what do you see or what are you curious about for the future of AI in mental health? And how have we at Portable been thinking about it? And are we having any proactive discussions with Headspace? How do we kind of engage a client to think about
Mm.
this?
AI is something that we're talking about now across all of our clients. I think our digital product team at Portable is really focused on AI and really focused on bringing the experience that we already have in our team to our clients in different ways. Thinking about getting it into different spaces like mental health, I think is a priority for us as a business right now.
Danielle, thank you so much for chatting to me today. It was so nice to
No worries.
get a feel for what we're doing with Headspace. And I look forward to hearing more and reading more of the case studies for us. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sarah.